Retailer Clicks has closed all its stores today and will reopen them tomorrow following the EFF's protests over an online hair advert that denigrated black people. Clicks says it's closing its stores to allow for staff counselling. The announcement came after the Gauteng High Court granted Clicks an interdict against the EFF, preventing party members from threatening or intimidating Clicks employees or customers. Clicks has also announced it's accepted the resignation of a senior executive responsible for the online ad. Now, Nonkululeko Gobodo is an independent non-executive director at the Clicks Group. She says the controversial hair advert is both unacceptable and inexcusable. The online advert denigrated the hair of black people, portraying white hair as normal. Amid protests by EFF, the lifestyle and health retailer has closed all its stores today and will reopen them tomorrow in order to offer counselling services to staff. Gobodo says she has highlighted the issue with Clicks management, asking them to review the process used to approve the advert. She also says the racism and prejudice against women are crimes the country cannot move forward unless these are immediately addressed in society and business. She joins us now via Zoom. A very good morning to you, Ms. Gobodo.
Morning, Desiree, and your viewers.
Ms. Gobodo, gender activist Nomboniso Gasa tweets that bringing you in at this point is disingenuous on the part of Clicks. It's because you're a black woman who's perceived to be able to solve everything. She says, but this is a general sentiment that senior management of Clicks are arrogant and don't want to engage directly with the public. Is she correct?
It's so difficult to be black, Desiree, today, because when we don't provide leadership, we are blamed. When we provide leadership, we are blamed. I'm a leader. You know, I cannot sit back and not take accountability about a serious matter like this, a crime against black people, a crime against women. Because we can only change things from within when we step up. I can't do that in private, in a board meeting at Clicks. I have to publicly state how I feel about this and hold the Click management accountable for what has happened. So it's not that Clicks management is arrogant or anything like that. The CEO has been out there. I advised him to go out there. But I suppose that people are seeing black people only I suppose that may be the issue. But as leaders, we have to be held accountable for something like this. I'm a board member at Clicks. I'm appalled by this incident, and I'm taking action within Clicks, and I want the nation to know that I'm appalled by this.
Not only are you a board member, but there's another conversation that has come out of all of this, the shareholding of the PIC at Clicks, a shareholding which then translates into a major shareholding by black people in the country, contradicting the perception that Clicks is majorly owned by white people. How should PIC be showing its reaction to this development?
You know, you're bringing such an important point, Desiree, because we keep calling public institutions white institutions in South Africa in 2020. There is no one person who owns Clicks. There is no white person who can say, I have a majority shareholding in Clicks. Clicks is owned by public institutions, and so on. So what I'm trying to say is that we've got to even stop this language of calling public institutions white institutions, because there is no one who is more entitled to be a Clicks or any other public institution than the other. As long as we call the former white universities white, our black people are going to be marginalized in these institutions. And as long as we call public institutions that are owned by other public institutions white, we're still going to perpetuate this talk of racism, prejudice against women, and discrimination. So as a Clicks board member, I am standing here because I'm a legitimate board member of Clicks, I'm able to hold the Clicks management accountable for any wrongdoing that I perceive at Clicks. I will hold the chairman of the board accountable. When I had this, I wanted to say pension funds. Yes, these institutions are owned by pension funds. When I had this thing, I didn't sit back and do nothing. Immediately, I called the ExCo and the CEO. I wrote a letter to the chairman of the board to say we want a full investigation as to how a matter like this can happen at Clicks, because this does not reflect our values. At Clicks, we don't accept racism within Clicks, but we do acknowledge that if our people saw this image on our website and thought it was normal, there is something wrong with our processes. There is something wrong with our diversity and inclusion programs. And this is why we've said as a board, this matter needs to be addressed. Our head office people need to be trained again, taking them to the next level around this sensitivity around race. Because we cannot no longer accept racism in South Africa and in society. This is the time to put this thing on the agenda, firmly on the nation's agenda, and do not stop until we rid institutions and society of racism. You know, I pride myself that I was raised by strong parents. So I was never a victim of racism and discrimination in the workplace because I was able to stand up to bullies, white and black, male bullies. But I've endured racism in society at restaurants, being followed by security guards at the shops. It's just not acceptable. And I mean, white people just carelessly talking to you, it's really just not acceptable. We've enjoyed this enough as black people and as women. Enough is enough.
So Clicks has apologized and the official responsible for putting the advert on your website has resigned. You now have to contend with a South African public that feels it's not enough. How's Clicks handling this going forward?
Well, I mean, Clicks is taking measures within Clicks in terms of what the CEO has said and what we've been saying as an organization in terms of delisting Theresa May. Again, this is not a Clicks advert. I keep saying, I know that we are accountable for putting it up, but it's not our advert. We didn't commission it. We would never commission an advert like this. Yes, we've said we will make sure that we contribute to growing the local market in terms of hair products and again, supporting black suppliers. But this is not just a Clicks problem. It is a South African problem. And so as long as we have racism and discrimination and prejudice against women in society, institutions are forever going to address this. But yes, within an institution, you have power, but we're powerless against a society. That's why it's going to take all of us in South Africa to put this family on the agenda, not for a few weeks, until we rid society of discrimination and prejudice against women. We've endured this enough.
So you agree that this is institutionalized racism?
Racism is institutionalized everywhere in South Africa. Let's admit that. Clicks, I must say, that's why I keep saying that we put transformation and racism and discrimination in one sentence. For me, these are two issues. Transformation is a journey. Yes, the journey has been slow for 26 years. We acknowledge that. And racism is a crime against black people and women. And so that one, we cannot tolerate it. We must deal with it decisively. But we have to acknowledge the progress Clicks have made in the area of transformation. 60% of the board is black, 40% is women. The ExCo of Clicks is 2/3 black. Their ESOP scheme paid out in 2018 and 2019 2 billion rands to ordinary South Africans. That was a great moment for me in post-apartheid South Africa. The CEO of Clicks is not a tick box tokenism. We appointed him because he was the best candidate. That is the kind of South Africa I want to live in, where the best are acknowledged and everybody is trained. And this CEO was in Clicks for 25 years, homegrown within clicks, they are not doing enough clicks for Africans. This is my issue with them. Because if we keep sidelining Africans, we're going to continue to say they are not trained, they are not capable, and all of that, whereas they are not exposed and they are not trained. And it is the same example within clicks.
And yet, with this seemingly correct composition of the board, things were able to get through and get to the public.
This is why, for me, this is such a shock. Clicks is such a well-run company. I am really just surprised that our processes allowed this slip up. But again, it talks to this unconscious bias of people who looked at an image and saw it as normal in South Africa in 2020. So yes, our processes slipped up in this case, but let's acknowledge that racism is still a factor, because how can someone look at this image and say it is normal? Because, I mean, how can you put a black person, I mean, as a woman, I'm really appalled by this. A black person, compare black hair and white hair. We don't even use the same products. Oh, how are we on the same WhatsApp group? Kanjan. This is just blatant racism. And these agencies who produce these images, they go off scot-free. The brand takes the blame. This time, let's call them to account. We want the names of the agency, the names of the executives who are working on that project, the names of the people within Unilever who signed off on this project. They must come before the nation and account.
So, Ms. Gobodo, now Clicks has won at the courts, but the EFF protest action must have had some impact. Can you tell us what the impact has been?
Yeah, very traumatic. Very traumatic for our staff. I understand the anger, but we have to acknowledge that EFF is also a political organization. I'm not saying we are not all angry over racism, but I mean the kind of trauma that our staff have been put through out of this intimidation and violence that we've experienced in the last few days is really just not fair on them. And we must understand that we cannot be destroying a big company that Clicks. It employs 15,000 people. We have to be reasonable in these things. Yes, let's punish people. Yes, let's hold them accountable, but let's not destroy institutions, because we have a high unemployment rate already in South Africa. If you destroy a company that employs 15,000 people, what is going to happen to those people?
So now different sections, including the small business department through its minister, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, have said they're engaging with Clicks in this regard. Tell us what conversations have taken place with who in terms of finding a way out of this.
Well, we've had conversations with the Department of Labor. We've had conversations with the Department of Trade and Industry. And what they are saying is that we've got to get involved in growing the local market. And we've got to open opportunities for black suppliers. And yes, Clicks, we only import 6% of our products. But there is scope definitely to expand our supply base and make sure that we open opportunities for local suppliers and especially black suppliers. So those are the kind of engagement, and we're committed to this as a company. We have realized now that transformation has to be top of agenda. We've asked the Social and Ethics Committee to put this top of its agenda, to make that sure that we hold management accountable to fulfill on these promises.
You know how social media is immediate these days. There's immediacy because of social media. And we're already getting responses saying you're very sympathetic to Clicks. Nkosinathi Magwa says, how I wish you interviewed a white person from Clicks board, wanted to see what kind of responses they would give. It's that concern again that I gave you at the beginning about Nomboniso's tweet saying, you can't be the right person to be responding to this.
Yes, I mean, I understand this sentiments. You know, as I'm saying that the exco of Clicks is actually 2/3 black, you know, which is why you probably saw a black CEO, and now you're seeing a black director. But I do understand that we do have white people at Clicks, and maybe they have to come out and answer for themselves as well. But this is not just a black and white issue within Clicks. All as leaders within Clicks, we take responsibility for this. We hold each other accountable for this. So that's why I was saying, as a board member, I cannot keep quiet when something, I was not asked to do this. I offered to say, the nation needs to know how I feel about this. I mean, I want to call it an atrocity, because to me, it is an atrocity.
Ms. Gobodo, we have time constraints, but come back another time to have a broader conversation about the role of leaders in society in transforming the society, in transforming the South African society, because we're obviously struggling at this. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you so much, Desiree.
Nonkululeko Gobodo is a director at Clicks, talking to us about the latest developments in this corporate racism story.